You get paid, and for a moment everything feels under control. There is a sense of relief, maybe even confidence, because the money is finally there. But a few days pass, sometimes a week at most, and that feeling disappears. The balance drops, the same expenses show up, and before you even realize it, you are back where you started. And then it repeats. Every month. This is Capital Clarity, a channel where we explain how money works clearly, simply, honestly. This is what living paycheck to paycheck looks like. It is not always dramatic, and it is not always obvious, but it is constant. Money comes in, money goes out, and nothing stays long enough to create stability. There is no buffer, no margin for mistakes, and no real sense of control. What makes this cycle dangerous is that it feels normal. You adapt to it. You plan around it. And over time, it stops feeling like a temporary situation and starts feeling like the only way things can work. But the truth is, this cycle does not exist because of one single problem. It exists because there is no system behind your money. Most people think the issue is income. They believe that if they earn more, everything would finally improve. But in reality, the core issue is structure. Without structure, money behaves predictably. It flows in, it flows out, and it disappears. There is no direction, no priority, and no long-term thinking built into the way it is used. And without those elements, even higher income often leads to the exact same result, just at a larger scale. Breaking this cycle does not start with earning more. It starts with seeing clearly. The first step is not cutting expenses or saving more. It is understanding what is actually happening. Most people believe they already know where the money goes, but this belief is usually inaccurate. Small purchases are forgotten, irregular expenses are ignored, and patterns are missed. When you begin to track your spending in detail, even for a short period like 30 days, something changes. You stop guessing and start seeing. You notice how often you spend without thinking, how small amounts add up, and how certain habits repeat more often than you expected. This awareness is not about judgment. It is about clarity. And clarity is what makes change possible. Once you see the reality, the next step is to give your money structure. Without structure, every financial decision becomes reactive. You spend when something comes up, when you feel like it, or when it seems justified in the moment. A simple system changes this completely. When your money is divided into clear categories such as essential needs, optional spending, and savings, each part has a purpose. Instead of asking yourself whether you can afford something, you already know where it fits and whether it belongs there. This does not restrict you. It gives you control. Because control does not come from having more money, it comes from knowing exactly what your money is doing. One of the most important shifts happens when you change the order in which you use your money. Most people spend first and save what remains. The problem is that, in practice, nothing remains. When you begin to save first, even a small percentage, you reverse the system. Saving is no longer an afterthought. It becomes a built-in part of your financial behavior. The amount does not need to be large at the beginning. What matters is consistency. Over time, this creates something that most people in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle never experience: accumulation. Not all financial problems come from large expenses. In fact, many of them come from small, repeated decisions that seem harmless in isolation. Daily purchases, unused subscriptions, and impulsive spending do not feel significant in the moment, but over time they create a constant drain. When you review your spending with honesty, you start to see which expenses actually improve your life and which ones exist out of habit or convenience. Removing or reducing these does not feel like sacrifice. It feels like removing friction. And this is where progress often begins, not with dramatic changes, but with quiet corrections. One of the defining features of living paycheck to paycheck is the absence of a buffer. Any unexpected expense, no matter how small, disrupts everything. This creates stress, and stress leads to worse decisions. Building a financial buffer, even a small one, changes the entire experience. Instead of reacting immediately, you gain time. And time allows you to think clearly, to choose better options, and to avoid making decisions under pressure. This buffer does not need to be large in the beginning. What matters is that it exists and that it grows over time. As income increases, there is a natural tendency to improve your lifestyle. This is not inherently wrong, but it becomes a problem when every increase in income is matched by an equal increase in spending. When this happens, nothing changes. You earn more, but you also depend on more. Your financial situation looks different on the surface, but it functions the same way. Choosing to keep your lifestyle stable, even as your income grows, creates a gap. And that gap is where progress happens. It becomes savings, investment, and eventually freedom. Many financial decisions are not rational. They are emotional, immediate, and often temporary. The simplest way to reduce their impact is to introduce time. When you delay non-essential purchases, even by a day or two, you create distance between the impulse and the action. In many cases, the desire fades. And when it does not, the decision becomes more conscious. This small habit has a disproportionate effect. It reduces unnecessary spending without requiring constant effort. The final shift is moving from intention to system. Good intentions are not enough because they depend on mood, energy, and discipline in a moment. A system removes that dependency. When your savings are automatic, when your bills are structured, and when your spending has clear boundaries, you no longer need to make the same decisions repeatedly. The system does it for you. And over time, this consistency is what breaks the cycle. The paycheck-to-paycheck cycle is not broken by a single decision. It is broken by a series of small, consistent changes that create structure where there was none. At first, the progress feels slow. The changes feel small. But over time, they compound. What once felt normal begins to feel unstable, and what once felt difficult becomes automatic. You do not escape the cycle by earning more. You escape it by changing how your money works.